1. All right, so you guys should be on your 5-2 notes. And their first vocabulary word we're going to learn about today is called alternate interior. So go ahead and decode those for me, please. Alternate interior. Go ahead and decode that. So alternate interior, that's our first vocabulary word. And we're going to practice saying that as well. So our first word today is alternate interior. What's the word? Alternate interior. Ready? Alternate interior. Alternate interior. All right. So in your example box, I want you guys to go ahead and draw 2 parallel lines. And I want you to draw them like this. Kind of flat like that, horizontally. So you're drawing 2 parallel lines. Now we're going to draw a transversal, which is a line that's going to intersect those 2 parallel lines. All right, so do you guys know what the word alternate means? Like switch, to switch between, right? Or every other, you could say. So for our definition for alternate interior, we're going to say every other, you could put, inside angle. Every other inside angle. So interior means inside. They're talking about the interior of your house. That's inside your house. So let's look at our picture right here. When I'm talking about the inside, I'm talking about the inside of those 2 parallel lines. So I'm going to use my highlighter here. When I talk about inside or interior, we're talking about the inside of our parallel lines. So we're only looking at this region that I've highlighted in yellow here. You guys good with that? Okay. Now, that deals with interior. We're inside the parallel lines. When we talk about alternating, we're going to alternate on different sides of our transversal. So this is my transversal. So if I draw one congruency mark on the left side of my transversal, since I'm on the left side, now I have to alternate and go over to the right side, right here. Those 2 angles are called alternate interior angles. They alternate sides of the transversal. One's on the left side, one's on the right side. And then interior means they are inside the parallel line. Those 2 angles are congruent to each other. Now there's actually another set of alternate interior angles. Do you see how this angle right here is also inside? So this time I'm going to do 2 congruency marks. And that is on the right side of the transversal. So now what side of the transversal do I go to? The left side. So now I'm going to come to the left side. And I'm going to put 2 congruency marks here. Those 2 angles are called alternate interior. They alternate on different sides of the transversal. And they're inside the parallel lines. Those are also congruent to each other. Questions there? All right. Go ahead and decode alternate exterior for me. What's that? Yep, very good. You're exactly right. So we're doing alternate and then exterior. Alternate exterior. Since it's exterior, does that mean it's on the outside? And he's exactly right. So this time, we're going to draw 2 parallel lines, just like we did before. So those are my 2 parallel lines. Go ahead and draw your transversal. And this time, because of the word exterior, we're looking outside of our parallel lines. So we're looking at these angles outside. So I'm highlighting them in yellow here. So we're only looking at that region outside. So we're still alternating. So we're still doing every other. So go ahead and write every other. But this time it's every other outside angle. Every other outside angle. So let's go on the left side of the transversal, right in this upper left-hand corner, and go ahead and draw one congruency mark. So we're on the outside, so we're doing exterior, and we're on the left side. So what side do I have to go on down here? The right side. Those would be what we call alternate exterior angles, and they are congruent. Now, do we have one set or two sets of alternate exterior? There's two, right? We've also got this angle right here on the right side. And I'm going to draw two congruency marks there. So since I'm on the right side up here, where do I have to go down here? We alternate and go to the left side. Yes, go ahead. Very good. Absolutely. Very good. I like that vocabulary. Acute and obtuse. All right. And then our last is called corresponding angles. So go ahead and decode that for me. Corresponding angles. Corresponding angles. Corresponding angles. This is our last vocab word today. And guess what we're going to draw for our example? Two parallel lines. So two parallel lines and a transversal. So corresponding angles are congruent angles. What does congruent mean? They're the same size. Good. Congruent angles in the same relative corner. Congruent angles in the same relative corner. Yep, so they're going to be congruent. So in our diagram over here, I want you guys to put one congruency mark in the upper left-hand corner. So do you see how I'm in the upper left-hand corner of this intersection? So when I say they're in the same relative corner, if I'm in the upper left-hand corner here, I'm going to go in the upper left-hand corner here, and those two angles are congruent to each other. So do you see how both of those are in the upper left-hand corner? They're in the same relative corner. They are congruent to each other. Now, let's go to the upper right-hand corner and put two congruency marks this time. So we're in the upper right-hand corner. If we're in the upper right-hand corner up here, where do we have to go down here? Upper right-hand corner. Yep, we're in the same relative corner, so put two congruency marks there. And then let's do the same thing in the lower left-hand corner. So this time, how many marks are we going to put? You could do 2 or 3, either or. Yep, 3 would work. And then we're going to go in the lower left-hand corner and do 3 as well. Those are corresponding angles. And then in the lower right-hand corner, how many? 4 and 4, yep. All right. So let's jump to this next example. And we're going to use that information to find some of these angles here. Now, in the directions, it says that line A is parallel to line B. Find the measure of each angle. And then we we have to tell why we know that that angle is what it is. So let's start with angle 1. Look at your diagram, and who thinks they could tell me how big angle 1 is? Raise your hand if you know how big angle 1 is. Good. Angle 1 is 105 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and label that on my diagram as well. And now, who can help me justify? How do we know that that's 105 degrees? Vertical angles. Very good. So we would say vertical angles. Excellent vocabulary. I love it. Angle 1 is a vertical angle with this 105 degree angle right here. Remember, vertical angles are two V's stacked on top of each other. So they are vertical angles. And by the way, you see in this upper left-hand corner, do you guys see how I put 2 2's? Change this 2 to a 4. That's supposed to be a 4. All right. So now that we know that this angle is angle 1 right here, how can I figure out angle 4? And if you need to, take your hand. It's an acute angle. Very good. What else do we know? A straight line is 180, right? So what do you think we're going to do? Subtract. Let's do 180 minus 105. And does that give me 75? So go ahead and label angle 4 is 75 degrees. And same with angle 2. Very good. Why? They're vertical angles. Angle 2 is also 75 degrees because those are vertical angles. Very good. So if we go down to letter C wants the measure of angle 2. We're going to say it's 75 degrees. And then our explanation again is going to be those are vertical angles because angle 4 and angle 2 are vertical angles. Okay, so now we need to figure out what angle 8 is. Looking at the diagram, what do you think angle 8 is? It's an acute angle. Good. So how many degrees do you think angle 8 is? 75. You are correct. Angle 8 is 75 degrees. We have to say why it's 75 degrees. Who thinks they could raise their hand and give me an explanation? There are a couple of different explanations here. Very good. All right. So can somebody give me a vocabulary word? You're exactly right. What were you going to say? Corresponding angles. Good. Corresponding angles. Corresponding starts with a C. Corner starts with a C. So angle 8 is in the upper left-hand corner. Angle 4 is in the upper left-hand corner. Those are corresponding angles. So they're both 75 degrees. So we can call them corresponding angles. Corresponding angles. Now I want you guys to go ahead and write, what do you think the measure of angle 5 is? That's our last one, letter D. Very good. Give me a reason why it's 105. Go ahead. Not number 2, number 1. Very good. Angle 1 is the upper right-hand corner. Angle 5 is the upper right-hand corner. So we could say those are corresponding. Yep. Very good. You're exactly right. Nicely done. All right. I want you guys to go to this worksheet right here. And you have to do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So basically everything except number 1.